Hey everybody, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. In this video, I'm going to be discussing mutations, an easy way to get them, as well as just a little bit about how they work, because I found when I was trying to search for information on this, I couldn't find a really good source that just had everything kind of in one area. I had to jump around from site to site or forum to forum to get some of this information, so I thought I would compile this for you guys in one video so that you don't have to jump around as much. I'm going to split up this video into two parts because some people who are coming to this video already know everything they need to know about mutations and they're just looking for an easy spot to farm them. So the informational section is going to be here first in the video, but if you don't want to hear any of that, you just want to skip ahead to where the farming aspect of the mutations are, I'll put annotation on the screen to where you can just kind of skip forward and skip all this if you don't want to hear it. So mutations are basically just like traits. If you've played Fallout New Vegas, they're like the trait cards that you would get, or not the trait cards, there were no perk cards. They're basically just like the traits you could get, you could choose at the very beginning when you created your character and you're going through the process with Doc Mitchell. There was a section where you could choose things like Wild Wasteland or some of these other trait cards where they had a positive and a negative effect. One I believe was that you did more gun damage per shot, but your fire rate was reduced, so like you did 20% more damage but 20% less accuracy or something. That may not be correct, but that's just kind of an example. So mutations are similar. Most of them have a positive and a negative effect. Not all of them have a negative effect, or if they do, it's not readily shown. But think of them like extra perk cards that you can get for free without having to level up. But the downside is that unlike perk cards, they also have a negative effect to them typically. Mutations are passive, so you don't have to go somewhere to activate them. Once you get one, it's just always active. Now there are some that have to be activated through a specific set of circumstances. One might be for jumping, the other one is that you get meleeed and then you release an electrical charge. So it's not like that electrical charge is always going to come out of you, but it's passive in the sense that you don't have to do anything to activate it. Once you have it, you just have it until you get rid of it. Mutations are random in that you get them just whenever you are exposed to radiation. However, I've never gotten a mutation just by eating, say, a piece of food, and anything that gives you a small dosage of radiation, I've never gotten a mutation. Now, other people's experiences may vary, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, there's no way you can get a mutation from a small dose of radiation, because I believe the official wiki on mutation says that you can get it pretty much from any source of mutation. My experience is that you have to get a large dosage of radiation in a short period of time, and that gives you the mutation. At the very least, it drastically increases your chances of getting one. Now the issue is that once you have a high dosage of radiation, if you haven't gotten the mutation from doing that, you have to get rid of that radiation and then just repeat the process. And that's the way that you can farm for mutations easily. You can have a single mutation or you can have multiple mutations. As far as I know, there's no limit on the number of mutations you can have, other than it's tied to how many are actually programmed into the game, which, if I recall correctly, there are 18 or 19, and you can have all those except one, because two of the mutations are directly counter to each other, and that's herbivore and carnivore, and you cannot have carnivore and herbivore at the same time. So if you get herbivore, you can no longer get carnivore, and vice versa. But there's no limit other than that as to how many mutations you can have, so you could farm and have all of them if you so choose. The way you can check what mutations you have and what their effects are is under the status part of your Pip-Boy, which is just the category farthest to the left, and then you just go down to effects and you'll see like a double helix DNA symbol, and that will display all your mutations, the name of them, as well as what effects they have, positive and negative. An important thing with mutations that you need to know is that when you have one, if you use a Radaway to cleanse yourself of radiation, there's a chance, to me it seems like a high chance, I think for me it's been every single time, that you'll lose the mutation that you just gained. So you soak up a bunch of radiation, you get a mutation, and you use a Radaway to get rid of that because, you know, rads take up your health and you want more health, you're going to lose that mutation that you just got. So you really want to get what's called the Starch Genes perk, and you need the second level of this. The first level will help obviously, but you really want the second level, so you'll need to invest 2 perk points in it, because the second level makes it to where you never will lose a mutation once you have one in cleansing yourself of radiation. And then the flip side of it is that you can never gain another mutation once you have it active. So that's going to come into play as we're doing this farming strategy. You're going to have to juggle this perk card depending on what stage you're at in the process, so that you can make sure you can get one, or make sure that you can't accidentally cure yourself of any mutations that you may have accumulated. Okay, so now with that brief overview out of the way, let's get into the actual farming strategy for this video. The best area that I have found in order to farm for mutations is the Emmett Mountain Disposal Site. You can find this just a little ways east of White Springs and south of the Top of the World, which I'll show here kind of on the map. And here it is relative to Charleston and Flatwoods. The reason why I really like this site is because it allows you to get rid of the radiation that you are going to accumulate really quickly without having to use Radaway or Radaway diluted. When I was doing this before at a different location, I had to use up my Radaway and Radaway diluted. Say Radaway 5 times in a row. Now you accumulate a ton of this stuff throughout the game, but it does weigh a lot, so I did sell a bunch of mine, so I just didn't have endless supplies of Radaway to use, and depending on how lucky or unlucky you are, it can take a while to get the specific mutations that you might want. Or if you want all of the mutations, it's obviously going to take a little while as well, and I will get into that a little bit later with getting multiple mutation. Now before beginning this process, make sure that you have your Starch Genes perk card if you have one, which if you're going to be experimenting with mutations and having them, then I highly recommend you have this perk. Otherwise, you're probably going to get rid of your perks at some point. You're going to lose them because you're just going to have to use Radaway at some point in your playthroughs because you accumulate radiation a lot in this game. And you need the Starch Genes perk to make sure that you keep your mutations and don't lose them anytime you cleanse yourself of radiation. So if you have it equipped, make sure before you begin this process you unequip it because you can't get mutations with this perk card active, as well as you can't lose them as well. It's a 2 for 2. So you want to make sure you get rid of it before beginning this. So when you fast travel to or discover Emmett Mountain Disposal Site, there's an entrance you can get into here. You're just on the road. And there are enemies that spawn at this disposal site, exterior as well as the interior, and you can just easily take these out. They generally scale to your level, or you could just run past them and sneak past them. You don't need to do anything in the exterior portions of this, so you could just run through all the enemies and just run here to the door to get in. But for me, I think, well, it's free XP. I'm always trying to level up, especially as I experiment with my different builds and I need different perk cards and stuff. So free XP is free XP, so I like to go through and just kill these enemies before venturing in, but of course you can do what you want. Once inside, there's a couple enemies here. Usually there's 1 or 2 to the left inside the showers, and then there's 1 to the right, 1 or 2 to the right by the generator area. So you can take these out or just try to do this without aggravating them. It's up to you. I usually just take them out just to make things easier. Here another player had already come through recently and killed all the enemies, so I just kind of lucked out and didn't have to deal with it. And what you want to do, these barrels right here in front of me, you can do this really with a couple of them, but if you go up right to the side of them, just explore and wait until you'll accumulate the most radiation that you can per second. So I found that the most I could get was about 24, 25 rads per second, which is quite a high amount, and that'll give you high doses of radiation really quickly. And you pretty much just stand there until you get near death, basically. And if you haven't accumulated a mutation yet, then you can just step away from the barrels, go into the shower room here, and just get rid of your radiation. Before venturing into the showers to cleanse yourself of radiation, make sure that you unequip the Starch Genes perk, because as I said before, you can't, if you don't have this activated, then any mutations you have are going to be lost. So if you have no mutations right now and you're starting your farm fresh, then obviously you don't have to worry about it. But if you already have 1 or 2 mutations and you're looking to get more, or as you continue this process that I'm showing you and you just rinse and repeat, you want to make sure that you have the Starch Genes perk active, otherwise you'll lose any progress that you've made. You might have 3 mutations and you want 4 or 5 specific ones, and then the third one in, you don't equip the Starch Genes perk and you run through the showers and suddenly you've lost 1 or 2 of your mutations. So make sure you have this active before cleansing yourself of the radiation. And then you just repeat the process. You go back to the barrels, you soak up radiation, and then once you're near death, go to the showers, juggling the Starch Genes perk card as needed, and you just repeat the process till you get a mutation. And then you can get multiple mutations per world or per playthrough, but you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can get another one. And farming strategies are all about quickness, so you're not going to want to sit on the same server and wait for that time limit to expire. So all you got to do is quit out, join a new world, and you'll spawn outside the Emmett Mountain Disposal Site, and you just rinse and repeat. Make your way to the interior, killing the enemies if you want for XP, and then just repeat the process I just showed you until you get another mutation. Or if you're just looking for one specific mutation, you just keep doing this until you get that specific one that you want. One final comment that I'll have is that if you want to run a build where you have a lot of mutations, then one of the perk cards that you're probably going to want to get is called Class Freak. You can invest a total of 3 perk points into this, and this just allows you to greatly reduce the negative effects of your mutations without touching the positive effects. Some of the mutations just have really crappy side effects, to be fair, and by getting this perk card you can diminish those effects so that the mutations are more beneficial. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Thank you for watching and for your support. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next installment.